Ancient Egyptian religion does not have an orthodox name. It was the beliefs and rituals performed by ancient Egyptians. Rituals such as prayers and offerings provided for the gods to gain their love. There are so many different gods in ancient Egypt's culture that everything has its own god. Ancient Egyptians idolized animals and some inanimate objects, or plants. They even worshipped them. For example, Egyptians see cats as magical creatures that could bring in good fortune. The god of cats, Bastet, was praised in the town Babasti, with hundreds of gold cats made in her honor. The pharaoh, or divine son, acted as an intermediate between the people and the gods. He had the job of keeping the gods happy and making sure they kept everything in order. Egyptians could go through the pharaoh to make the gods happy, or they could pray individually. The most important thing to everyone was what happened once they died. Many Egyptians went through great lengths to make sure they had a good afterlife. They made tombs for the pharaohs and had grave goods and offerings to make the gods happy. When someone died, they would have all their organs removed, and they would be mummified separately. The heart would be wrapped in linen and placed carefully back in the body, because the Egyptians believed that their heart was weighed in the afterlife to see if they led a good life. The body would then be wrapped and covered in spices, because Egyptians thought it would preserve the body. Occasionally, the body would be buried with their favorite items, such as little statues or even small pets. Ani was an ancient Egyptian scribe that wrote the Book of the Dead. It was written on a papyrus scroll that was 78 feet long. It stated what your soul must do to enter the afterlife. There were many tests and foul beasts one had to face before he could weigh his heart. Once Ani passed all the tests, he went into a field with his parents and had to tend to a plot of land for all eternity. The book was first made only for pharaohs, but soon every Egyptian was allowed to gain access to the afterlife. The Book of the Dead was one of the first records of Judgment Day that we see in other religions today. One of the most famous myths in ancient Egyptian religion is the story of Isis and Osiris. It started when Geb, the god of the earth, fell in love with Nut, the goddess of the sky. They wanted to be close, but couldn't because Shu, the god of air, was blocking them. Nut sent down rain to Geb, and this is how they produced their children: the sun, plants, the moon, and the gods Osiris, king of the gods, Isis, goddess of motherhood and magic, Set or Seth, god of chaos and evil, and Nephthys, goddess of the passage into life after death. Osiris and Isis fell in love and got married. Set, being jealous of Osiris's power, killed him by cutting him into pieces and scattering them. Isis spent many years trying to find all of the pieces. Finally, she put him back together by wrapping him in cloth. This is where we get the mummification from. With the help of Anubis, the god of mummification and the guide of the dead, Isis used her magic to bring Osiris back to life, just enough time to have a child. That child was Horus. When he was old enough, he went to get revenge for his father. During the fight, Horus lost his eye. The eye soon became a symbol for good health. Horus eventually won against Set, and Horus now became the king of the gods, and he made Osiris the king of the dead. There were many important gods, one of them being Ra. He was the god of the sun. Ra was seen as the creator of everything. He was so powerful and popular that many historians say that ancient Egyptian religion was actually a monotheistic religion, with Ra being the one god. Some Egyptians saw the pyramids as a symbol for the rays of light coming from the sun to welcome the pharaohs to the afterlife. Many solar temples were made in honor of Ra. They were very open to let sunlight in and did not have a statue because the sunlight represented Ra. Ancient Egyptians had many symbols to represent powerful meanings or to give Egyptians luck or guidance. One of the symbols is the scarab, which represents rebirth, but also used as a metaphor for mummification. Another popular symbol was the Ankh. It is the symbol for eternal life. The Ankh was believed to help get to the afterlife. The Ankh is very similar to the Christian cross, except it has a loop at the top. Some see the Ankh as a symbol for fertility, because the loop represents the woman and the bottom is the man. Two very similar symbols are the Eye of Horus and the Eye of Ra. The Eye of Horus is a left eye and is connected with the moon, and is a symbol for good health. Ra's eye, the right eye, and since Ra is the sun god, his eye is connected with the sun. It is also a symbol for protection. Ancient Egyptians had festivals called Het. These festivals used oracles to be the spokesperson of the gods. They used images and would turn them left or right depending on how the gods felt about the question being asked. Egyptologist Margaret Bunton writes, the purpose of most of the festivals was to allow the people to behold the gods with their own eyes. Particular images of the gods, sometimes carried in portable shrines, were taken out of the temple sanctuaries and carried through the streets or sailed on the Nile. These festivals were very important because they kept people believing in the god. Normally, if someone wanted to pray to a certain god, they would go to a temple that was built for that god. In the temple there would be a priest or priestess, and they would perform the rituals and tend to the temple's business. Many wealthy people wanted to be priests because it was a good job and people looked up to priests. Priests had to be pure in order to serve the gods. They washed twice a day, shaved their heads, and wore only the cleanest linen clothing and leopard skins. Every morning the high priest would rub the god's statue with sacred oil and perfume. He would then put ceremonial clothing and paint on the statue. After that, he would make offerings of food, such as bread, meat, and fruit. Temples employed many people to gather food and other offerings. Also, temples owned land and got many gifts from people wanting to show their love for the gods. We can also see religion in the architecture. The way the huge monuments are beautifully crafted is a mystery to many people. For example, the Sphinx is so beautiful and it was built over 5,000 years ago. It still stands today with only a broken nose and a few other small damages. The Sphinx is there to protect the tombs from any evil trying to enter. The ancient Egyptian general term for Sphinx, Shesep Ankh Atum, means living image of Atum. Atum created gods and the setting sun. He was seen as the underlying substance of the world because everything was made of his flesh. If you look at chemistry today, atoms make up everything. Coincidence? I think not.